All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of 12th Man Up. I know it's been a little bit, and I apologize. I've had a lot of mic issues and other busy things in my schedule, but I'm excited to be back. Obviously, it could possibly be the last game of the season, so we have a lot to talk about. And I'm going to be honest, based off the performance in the second half of this season, we have put ourselves in a tough spot. I believe Seattle has had the potential to easily be sitting comfortably in at least a wild card spot right now, but due to a couple losses in this season, we're now fighting for a playoff spot, and it's not even totally up to us. It relies a little bit on the Lions too. I do believe. I know this has been going around. A lot of the 12s are wondering the same thing, but I do believe the NFL wants Green Bay in the playoffs. I really do. I think they would like to see Aaron Rodgers back in it, more to talk about for broadcasters and whatnot. And Seattle is boring, right? And so, obviously, not in my opinion, but everyone's talking up Green Bay because they've won the last four games in a row. And let's be honest, really, that win against the Vikings weren't playing for anything. And people are still questioning whether they're legit or not. So I'm not going to praise Green Bay for that win against the Vikings. Also, the three wins before that, if I look at their schedule, they beat the Bears. They suck. They beat the Rams. They suck. And they beat the Dolphins 26-20. And Tua is basically, conscious. I can't believe they're still putting him on the field. I think that was his last game this season. But yeah, I don't think the Packers are as good as everyone likes to hype them up to be. But hopefully that can be proven with the Lions coming in town. But I do have to say, earlier this season, the Lions beat the Packers 15-9, and the Lions can't put up 15 points next week and expect to win. I'm just going to be completely honest. They have to do better than that. The Packers are obviously going to be fighting for a playoff spot too. So hopefully, even if we beat the Rams, the Lions will still, take pleasure in, taking Green Bay out of a playoff spot. Who knows? But I want to talk about a little bit how we've performed this season because and why we should be sitting comfortably in a wild card spot right now and not be hoping that the Lions win it for us and that we take care of the Rams. Starting off, we lost to the Falcons 27-23. And just to put things in perspective, I'm going to tell you the records of these teams that we've lost to. So we lost to the Falcons 27-23. They are 6-10 this season. We lost to the Saints 32-39, and they are 7-9 this season. We lost to the Bucks 16-21 in Germany, and although Bucks are sitting at 8-8 and they're going to be going to the playoffs, we only put up 16 points in that game, and that's not okay. And we lost to the. I mean, that's like a That's like a not Dolphins. That's like a Broncos score, getting 16 points. So we lost to the Raiders 34-40 in overtime, and they are 6-10. The Raiders, 34 points, and we lost. We lost to this one really. I mean, you saw my rant hopefully about the loss against the Raiders. If I made a video against the Panthers, I might as well be flipping my desk over because we shouldn't have lost that game at all. The Panthers, I think, were able to run the ball against us pretty handily in that game, but we lost 30-24, and they are 6-10. So I mean, if we take the Bucks game out of it, there are four games this season that I think we should have won against the Falcons, the Saints, the Raiders, and the Panthers, and they all had losing records, and we lost to all of them. And so that just goes to show that we aren't legit. And obviously, going into the season, the thought was we'd be lucky if we made the playoffs, and here we are, and we'd be lucky enough if we do make the playoffs. I mean, even I was thinking, I hope we just have some wins this season. No one thought Geno Smith would be playing as good as he is, and he's kind of been carrying the team. We thought we would be defense oriented, and it's kind of been a little bit of our defense letting us down. That and our interior offensive line. But if we would have won just two of the games with four losing record teams or Brady, we would be sitting comfortable right now with the playoff spot. Only two wins. If we went and won against the Falcons and the Raiders, or the Raiders and the Panthers, we'd be fine right now. And this just goes to show how unique the NFL is because every game counts. And now we are dire to win against the Rams, and the Lions need to beat the Packers. So, but I guess we still have an opportunity, right? So as long as we take care of business against the Rams, hopefully the Lions could figure something out and expose Green Bay, and hopefully that'll be satisfying enough for them. But we can only control what we can at this point. So I'm going to talk a little bit about this game coming up against the Rams. A little bit different playing the Rams this time around than we did earlier in the season when we were in LA because we're going up against Baker Mayfield. And kind of looking into Mayfield's stats, he's with the Rams, he's kind of had up and down games. He had games where he's played well and games where he's struggled. But I believe if we can apply the same pressure that we did against Mike White and the Jets, our defensive line actually did pretty good against them. And I believe if we do that same kind of pressure, it'll be a little bit overwhelming for Baker Mayfield. We had the last game against the Jets 4 sacks for a loss of 36 yards. And although that doesn't sound crazy or amazing, it's significantly better than how we've been performing as of recent. Because some games we'd be only getting 1, maybe 2 sacks, but when we apply that kind of pressure, that's when turnovers happen. And we had 3 turnovers that game against the Jets, 2 of them being interceptions. And Mayfield isn't obviously the most accurate thrower, which is why he's been bouncing around a couple other teams. So I think we should be able to handle him. There's no reason why Mayfield should be tearing us up on the field if we apply that pressure. I do believe the biggest threat to us going up against the Rams is Cam Akers. In the past 3 games, Akers has averaged at least 5 yards a carry. He's performed really well. And the game he had against the Broncos, he had 3 touchdowns, 118 yards, averaging 5 yards a carry, and only 23 carries. And so he's been really effective. And even against the Chargers, he was effective. So, that's been our biggest issue is stopping the run. And that's why we have losses against the Raiders and the Panthers is teams are able to enforce their will on us running the ball. And which is ironic because that's exactly Pete Carroll's strategy against a lot of teams is have a strong run game. And yet we can't seem to have a strong defense against the run. But anyways, on offense, we should be able to enforce our run game. Because Eckler last week, the Chargers, when they played the Rams, he only had 10 carries and averaged 12 yards a carry, scored 2 touchdowns, and ran for over 120 yards. So Eckler had a game, and the Rams really opened the gateway for him to go off. And based off of how well Ken Walker played last week, kind of looks like he's bouncing back. We should be effective, and so our run game should be well. The only thing I'm worried about is our defense stopping the run, so hopefully we can clean that up and apply pressure on Baker Mayfield. I do expect Geno and DK to connect in this game, especially since they really struggled last week to connect. So I'm hoping we could. I like spreading the ball out. I do. But, you got to feed your guy. And I think DK wants to be fed, obviously. He hasn't been performing as great as I hope. His route running, honestly, like as strong and as big as he is, he doesn't have the I guess he doesn't have the Devontae Adams routes, right? He's not getting that much separation from the corners. So I'm hoping to see a little bit of that and maybe just use his body like a tight end a little bit because they need to be connecting. And I want everyone to keep in mind that obviously the Rams they know they're eliminated. They know they're out. And so it is their last game of the season. And nothing would please Bobby Wagner more than to potentially take the Seahawks out of a playoff spot in Seattle. So be prepared for this game. I know everyone's talking about the Lions game and the Panthers, not the Panthers, the Lions and the Packers game. But we still got a game for ourselves to figure out because the Rams will be playing with some motivation because it is their last game of the season. And obviously it's potentially ours, so I expect us to get the job done. But I do have Seattle winning this game 27-23. I do believe it'll be closer than maybe what other people may think. But that's going to be it for me today. I'll make a video after the win or the loss against the Rams. And if it's the win, then I'll probably hold off and see what happens after the Packers Lions game. That's gonna be it for me, guys. Go